Hey there, Gamerinos and Gamerinas. Welcome to UnicornStorm. This is Rady, and today I want to look at another nifty gaming gadget. So a short while ago, I got surprised while I was browsing the new releases on Steam, and I stumbled across the PSVR app. What's that? I thought to myself, and then I performed a triple backflip out of sheer happiness when I took a closer look. Oh yeah, now I can play VR games on PC with my PSVR2 headset. Awesome! Well, it didn't turn out that simple, but it's still simple enough. To get it all working, I had to acquire a few more things. For one, I got myself this PSVR2 PC adapter. It seems depending on your GPU, this one isn't necessarily required, but I just wanted to make sure. The PSVR PC adapter comes with a USB cable you need to connect to your PC and a power cord that thankfully has its own plug, so you don't need to find yet another adapter for that one. The PSVR headset connects to the USB-C port on the adapter. One thing you need that's not included with the PSVR adapter is a DisplayPort cable. Use it to connect the adapter to your graphics card. I've read that you can't use an HDMI cable with an HDMI to DisplayPort converter, though I haven't tested that. I also got myself a Wi-Fi card because the onboard Bluetooth didn't play nice with the PSVR motion controllers. I chose a card over USB because in some instances the USB can cause interference with the Bluetooth signal. So again, I just wanted to make sure. So yeah, let's get this thing set up. So yeah, just download both the SteamVR and the PSVR app on Steam, and that's pretty much it. Setting it up only takes a few minutes. Just follow the instructions to connect your motion controllers, and then you're suddenly in your own virtual home. Now, this won't turn into a SteamVR review or anything. It wouldn't be fair without the actual hardware, and this here is more about this nifty new feature. Or let's call it officially supported and easily accessible new feature of the PSVR 2. And with that new feature, you can now enjoy the huge offering of VR experiences on PC, or at least on Steam, like your little VR home, a bunch of games that are not available on PS5, including Half-Life Alyx. Oh, I was so looking forward to this game. And most importantly, the Steam Workshop modding community, allowing you to just download with one simple click new environments for your home screen, which is already pretty darn great, and of course, which is much more important, all kinds of additions and alterations for your games. Now the possibilities are actually endless. Something normal and I guess not that remarkable anymore for PC users, but now PlayStation players can join in on the fun. Starting a game from your VR home is that simple. Just press the home button on one of your controllers, which opens the Steam menu, and from there you can navigate towards either your VR options or your library, among other things we don't need right now. The Steam client is generous enough to sort all VR games in your library into their own little collection, but you can of course also access the rest of your games from here. Now we have to keep in mind that this here is not the intended way to use the Steam VR software. It's more akin to emulation, more or less. The PSVR is pretending to be a Valve Index or HTC Vive. Steam is just generous enough to use all the graphics and button prompts of the PSVR. But it means that we will run into some issues. So far, most of the games I tried worked as intended. But some games did not cooperate with me. I tried to get the Sega Classic Collection to run, and it did start and I was able to look around the room, but I couldn't select anything. The game did recognize my controllers and it did detect my inputs, well, some of them. The game refused to recognize the X or square button, and well, I need one of those to start anything within this game. So just keep in mind that not every game will work right out of the box. I'm sure these are just some initial problems that will be ironed out given some time. Or at least I hope so. The biggest problem I've encountered is some connectivity issues with the motion controllers. The head tracking is buttery smooth. Maybe some of my footage isn't reflective of that, but that's what I get from running VR games on my system, mirroring the screen to another display and capturing that one, still on the same system. Through my headset, the experience is excellent and the games all look great. Well, as great as they've been visually designed, with Half-Life Alyx clearly being the most presentable. And as I see it, and have commented on it before in a different video where I ran into some capturing issues, games are made to be played, not recorded, so I don't fault the games or the hardware for some stuttering, in this case at least. I run my games on a 4.7 GHz AMD Ryzen processor with 32 gigs of RAM and a GeForce RTX 4060 Ti with 16 GB of RAM. And yeah, everything works really well, performance-wise. Half-Life Alyx notified me once that I'm running out of graphics memory, but it didn't affect the game. Though I'm not running the game on the highest settings. It's more like medium, but it still looks stunning. But back to the controllers. I do get a lot of jittering, my virtual hands wobbling around and not always behaving. I once got a system notification that the headset isn't able to visually track the controllers, but I don't believe that's actually the case. I mean, the problems actually do mostly occur when I move my hands a bit farther out to the sides or lower them too much. But that has never been an issue with the PSVR itself. And from my limited experience with other supported VR hardware, like the HTC Vive, I haven't encountered that problem there either. I still suspect a compatibility issue to be the case. Maybe the software doesn't translate the signal correctly, or maybe it's a hardware issue on my end. Though, I have seen a few mentions of problems with the motion controllers. I'm glad it runs at all, but I don't want to downplay the issue. It can get incredibly annoying, not only because it causes your aim to be off, or you can't grab the things you're trying to grab, but it also seems to lock up the controls. So whenever the game doesn't correctly detect your controller, even if it is just for a split second, and you press a button or move the stick, well, it just doesn't happen. But even more annoying, when the system acts up while you are moving the stick, then the input gets continuously executed. And this caused me a lot to spin around or run into walls or hazards, and this can screw you over. So yeah, I hope this gets fixed, either with better compatibility or a more stable software. I was still able to play the game, and for the most part it works fine, but it is very noticeable. And before I end this little showcase, I want to mention one other issue that's not too much of a problem, though it had me worried for a bit. At one point the software repeatedly kept crashing after a few minutes of usage. Restarting it was a bit awkward. The restarting button just closed the program. Restarting it manually told me I had to update some permissions, which required a restart, and again, clicking that button just closed the software. As a further annoyance, it also doesn't help that the SteamVR software is invisible in your collections for some reason, though you can just navigate to it in the taskbar under View. Not that you have to specifically open the VR mode, you can just run a VR game and the software starts on its own in the background. It's also a bit annoying that whenever I open the VR software, Steam asks me for the same permissions to run it, and I have to manually allow it every single time. But yeah, the crashes kept happening for no apparent reason. It seems you have to run the PSVR software and the SteamVR software simultaneously. The PSVR program itself only tells you to keep it installed, so I didn't think it was required to always run in the background whenever you want to play a VR game on Steam. But, I mean, if that's the solution to the problem, then I have nothing to complain. I haven't had another crash after that. And yeah, that's the PSVR on Steam. With official software and everything. Another step forward in making VR gaming more approachable and more, let's call it, cost-effective. It's still a shame that a lot of games are bound to specific VR devices. I can understand some of the reasons for this, but for the customer it's like having games tied to the controllers and displays. You still need a PC to run the game, but the head-mounted display decides whether or not you can actually play the game. So it's a good thing that these barriers are slowly torn down. I hope this device gives VR gaming another boost, grows the install base, and improves the tech and the experience even more. And with that, I'm off. I wish you the greatest of days. This has been Rady, and I will surely be back with another nifty gaming gadget.